Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Give Me God of War walkthrough, and we are back into the blossoming bosom of the Lake of the Nine. The last time we were here, the water level had changed, and we were going around looking for Yggdrasil dew and getting stuff done, and now we're going to be moving towards the docks to enter the icy area of the game, even though it is quite a snowy game. And we're going to be going towards Thalamur's corpse, I think he's called, the giant with the large chisel. But before we get to him, we have to take on this albino-looking ogre. So at the very beginning of his ascent up to this plateau, you can start off by hitting him with a bunch of fun stuff. And then if you do it successfully, like I just witnessed, you will stun him, and then you can use his stunned capacity to take out his Dark Elf brethren. And this is one of the rare instances in the game where you will come up against Dark Elves outside of Alfheim, because it is not technically their realm, right? They fight over the light, that's what they do. And there's only a handful of fights where you come up against them in the larger scale of the world, which to a lot of people will be a good thing, because if you're anything like I was when I first played the game, I really was not a friend of the Dark Elves. I find them a lot easier now because I understand them a lot better, and they've tweaked them a little bit. But fundamentally, they're never too bad, guys. However, there is a fight in the Lake of the Nine against one of the boss versions, who is backed up by two of the like general guys, the more advanced warrior type, and that could become increasingly dangerous of a situation. But I think we've already done that fight. Anyhow, animation collision aside, it is always fun to execute the Dark Elves. Pretty fun stuff. Is this associated with a spirit? Is this a side mission, this particular fight? Because I think you have to come here to spin that device to get to the next sequence. So maybe it's kind of like a 2-for-1 deal on Lake of the Nine. But there's a transition of us entering the northern dock, which is where the magic chisel is going to be found. So here is a Wulver, and our first encounter with a natural Wulver on the path. So this enemy type has attacks that break your guard, so you'll notice that it had the yellow ring on it, which symbolises that you have to parry those to block them successfully. He can also do a red attack, and he has a host of bonuses to him, but the one thing that you want to know most about this enemy is that it is fundamentally quite slow when it comes to attacking you. It's great at dodging, it's very evasive, but its attacks are telegraphed for quite a large amount of time. And as long as you keep on them and keep hitting them, there's not too much they can do because their attacks are so slow, and you can just proceed to wail on them and combo through what they're doing and keep them on the back foot, knocking them over, punishing them with the boy, hitting them with your big moves. And as long as you keep them controlled, you're not going to have any problems from this enemy. However, it doesn't mean that you will not have problems from them, because they have the ability to power their claws up and go into almost like a bloodlust feral mode, and when they're in that mode they seem to move way more fastly than they did before, at a much quicker pace, and they just seem to be incredibly aggressive. And they have a move where when they go on all fours, it becomes unblockable whatever they do, so just be cognizant of whenever you see them on all fours, because they're going to come your way, and it's pretty quick. But this is one of my favourite puzzles in the game, this, because you can actually turn the device you have to shoot and then shoot it with the boy while you're turning it, which I think is a nice way to optimise your movements. And you're not often afforded the luxury of being able to do that too much, so I'm definitely grateful that we have it here. But a couple of Svartalheim steel there, solid steel, which is what we're looking for, and a symbol of, I think it was defiance or defence.
Thamur was a frost giant.
And then we drop into this location, which has one of the chisel doors that will probably lead to a Valkyrie. And a few people have queried whether or not I will be covering the Valkyries, and I'm not entirely sure if I will, guys. It's no secret that I am critical of this game. I'm critical of all video games, but one of the aspects of it that I'm most critical of is the Valkyries. I don't really understand why people think that they're good fights, or good bosses, or fun, or interesting, because in my mind, I think they're some of the laziest boss design I've ever seen, and then the fact that all the Valkyries share the same lazy boss design makes me even more saddened at the thought of encountering them. And it must be said, they can be fun at times in certain aspects of them. Like, I kind of enjoyed the first Valkyrie just because it was so plain. Like, it was a fight where everything she did I could parry, so there was never a moment where I was in trouble, and I just kept her stun locked the entire time, and every time she swung for me, I parried her. And it was kind of hilarious how bad it was, but at the same time, it is quite fun to do that to a boss. But fundamentally, I'm not seeing the praise that they're receiving, and it seems to stem from a lot of people comparing them to Souls bosses, comparing them to something from Bloodborne or something from Dark Souls, and that just boggles my mind once again, because I just don't understand these comparisons, especially when you consider that the Valkyries have like 4 moves, and there are normal enemies in Souls games that have more than 4 moves. Like, bosses in Souls games have evolved up to the point where they have so many techniques that the real artistry and mastery of that game is understanding what the boss is capable of and reacting to it, whereas the Valkyries have like as I mentioned, they've got like 4 things they do, and each of them are inherited in some way. So you'll know she's going to throw feathers at you. You know she's going to do that big overhead with a scythe that you can parry. You know she might have a lunge attack cruising towards you that's quite quick that you parry. And you know she might have that jump up in the air and come down on you and step on your face move. Like, you know these moves because they've all got them. You know when she hits you with one wing, she's going to hit you with a second wing, and then she might do some flourish there, or she might do that red wing. Like, you know what they're going to do because they all do the same thing with slight differences. And then the culmination of all of this, of course, you take on a queen of the Valkyries when she fell all the smaller ones, and she's just a Valkyrie with like 3 times their HP and every move. So you finally get to what could be considered close to something like a Souls boss, because she's a Valkyrie that has like 6 or 7 moves. But even then, it just... I don't get the same feeling that everybody seems to be getting, because I think I've just got a better flavour for bosses, and I know that sounds quite egocentrical, but like, I don't think these people have fought some of the bosses that I fought to be impressed by something that is arguably so safe and so lazy and so copy-pasted. And I think the Valkyries look amazing, and I think I've beaten... I don't know how many there are. I think I've beaten 4 or 5 of them. So I haven't even fought, is it Sigrun, who is the final one? But I've watched a few people fight it, and it's one of those things where it's just... I would love to do it. I'd love to want to do it, you know, to be like, oh my goodness, look at this looks great, I should totally do this and make a video and, you know, show a strategy and no damage it and things like that. But then I watch people fight it and it's just like, oh, that move. Oh, that move. Oh, that move. Great. Oh, interesting. Oh, wow, look how many HP she's got. Awesome, that looks fun. A 10-minute fight. It's not for me, guys. It just truly isn't. And I really wish they were designed differently, because I think they look amazing. I think there are not many things in this game that look as good as the Valkyries, just on a pure stylistic stance. I just wish they were more interesting. And I've played a lot of action games, so perhaps my standards are higher than most. But I've fought against bosses that feel like you're fighting another human. You know, they feel like they've got just as much capacity as you do, and at any moment they can pull out something you weren't expecting. So when I come up against a boss that fights the same almost every single time, and the only real threat in that fight is the fact that some of the shitty moves leave fire behind, so that you don't want to get trapped against, you know, a little pool of fire that you couldn't see thanks to Kratos taking up 70% of the camera, like, that to me is not impressive. Speaking of the camera as well, GameFAQs is alive with the sound of just pure lamentations towards the camera in this game. I personally don't have too much of a problem with it. It can get in the way for obvious reasons. Kratos can block a lot of the screen. I think if there was an FOV option, so that when you sprint, see how the camera pulls out? I feel like if the camera was at that position more often, it would just be better for the game. But I understand why they've done it. I believe that they've done it to give you the illusion of spending more time with Kratos and being closer to the story. I think that's the whole fundamental body of why the camera is so close. Because the closer you are, the more personalised it feels, right? And I think that's what they tried to do with the adventure. Because you're in his pocket this entire time, there is a closer connection that some people will garner. Of course, there will be some people that play this game that don't even give a single shit about the story, so they're definitely hedging their bets towards the more narrative-focused gamer. But judging by the sales that the game has had, it seems like that a lot of people have picked this up and enjoyed it, which is nice. I just feel like a lot of the people who are picking it up and not enjoying it as much are the ones who are actually God of War fans. And I always find that quite interesting, because that's another argument that's happening quite a lot on the forums that I'm checking out. Is this a battle or is this a realm tear? It's just a tear. Awesome. That'll be good for building up your amulets and things if you need it. A nice legendary dust realm tear. I like this area. I wish there was more to it. I like the idea of moving through the wilds on this frozen lake and everything. There are a few puzzles here, but they all lead to things that I'm not really that interested in. But I've kept them in just to show you that you can, do a couple things here just in case you didn't notice. And undoubtedly there will be many things that I've missed that you did notice. It's just the nature of the walkthrough. I'm going through it quite quickly, trying to give you strategies that can help you and stuff. But GameFAQs, the idea that, saying this isn't a God of War is almost a declaration of war when it comes to the flaming that happens over there. And I've been sat around just looking for Mr. Starkiller to turn up and give some fucking dissertations to people, but I've not seen him, and I've been eagerly anticipating, spotting his name when I've been checking those forums. And I see Reng doing the same thing, because Reng was very, if you don't know Reng, he goes by Reuter now, I think. He's got a YouTube channel, he writes for his own publication about action games. Seems like a really nice guy, really good player. He is being pretty much the voice of reason over on GameFAQs every so often. I noticed that he's not going full, deep into the maelstrom, but he's still fighting the good fight. Kind of giving people a contrast of what we've lost in the transition into this game. Because people are being very, very complimentary to God of War. And it's almost like they've forgotten a lot of the things that the old games did really, really well. But of course, a lot of people look at those old games as just being button mashers. But this is one of the hardest fights in the game, guys. I recorded this particular fight 5 or 6 times, and I learnt a lot. At the time, I was kind of in a hurry to get it recorded, so I didn't stick around to do it more than 5 or 6 times, because I kept getting hit by stuff that was really frustrating me. So I'm not going to be doing this no damage, which I really wanted to, and I know I can do it, but this is a tough fight, a very, very tricky fight, and it's just because of the way everything can kind of synchronize. After this particular wave, there's going to be 2 ogres that turn up, and then unlimited spawning draugrs. The problem in that scenario is if you get hit by anything and stunned, you will generally eat a second hit. And there are times when you can be running past something and you'll take a hit because it was quite hectic on the screen, and it makes it incredibly difficult to micromanage the threats. But there were a few things I noticed with my time trying to get a cleaner run of this. I also had one run where the ogre glitched, and that one would have been no damage, but what's the point when I'm only fighting one ogre and the other one's stuck in the other side of the courtyard? All people would have done then is, oh, you only did that because you got a glitch, right? So I tried to avoid a couple of the more serendipitous moments that happen, but it can happen here. And the second spawn happens, I believe, when you kill the big guy. It might happen when you kill everybody, but I get the feeling it's when the big guy goes down. What I do know for certain is, once you've killed this wave, there's going to be one draugr that drops from the roof over there, and there's going to be an ogre that drops. If you kill any draugrs post the ogre dropping, it will spawn the second ogre. So if you do not attack the draugrs and you just attack the ogre, you will completely negate fighting 2 ogres at one time. Fighting 2 ogres on this part is very, very demanding. It's very tricky. So trust me when I say you want to do it one-on-one if you can. But even then, when you're fighting just the one ogre, there's going to be plenty of draugr that are going to be turning up. And then what happens is, if you get a stun off on the ogre, the second ogre usually spawns. And if he doesn't, you can attack one of the draugrs, finish them off, and he will spawn. And the strategy is to push the ogre back against this wall that I'm looking at just here. This wall over here. And I don't know quite what I'm doing at this moment in time, because this is not the strategy that I was using. Traditionally, I would use an Executioner's Cleave when that ogre fell down. I would then throw Tear's Revenge at him, and then proceed to do the boy's electric ability, and then keep on hitting him to try and stun him. But apparently in the recording that I picked, I didn't do that. Oh, there it is! That's why I picked this one. Interesting. So that is really, really interesting what happened just then, and really, really bad. And one of the reasons why Bayonetta is one of the greatest games ever made, and this is not. So, for anybody who missed that, you might have to go back if you're interested, I got the phase shift, I got the slow motion time for dodging the ogre's slam attack, but because he plinks his fists, the right fist wasn't fully extended, so as I recovered in slow motion of the enemy, his other fist hit me. So I dodged perfectly to trigger a rather tight, precise dodge required mechanic, and I still took damage from an active hitbox inside of the dodge. So just one of those things. It's Nier Automata all over again. You do a dodge, you go to counter, and your counter gets counter hit by an active hitbox. It's terrible. It's rubbish design. The moment that he goes into that slow motion phase, all of his hitboxes should be off. And the moment he comes out of it, all of them should be on. Is it so difficult for this to be a thing? I don't know. I'm not a programmer. But I take a hit, I'm not happy about it, and then I'm just going to proceed to damage this troll as much as I can. I take another hit from another slam. Now there is my fault. 100% bad timing, right? He blinds me a little bit, he hits me with the slam. I don't know how much I've spoken about this particular enemy type, but when it comes to his running attack, the closer you are to it to get behind him, the better. Because that way, you will not end up in those moments where he doesn't touch you and you still get hit by that big slam. You can sprint towards him when he does it and hook around him, or you can just double tap dodge to go around the side of him when he does it. And traditionally, it's the easiest move in the game to dodge, but for some reason, there are moments when he undercuts himself and does it a little short, and it will catch you out almost every time, because you'll do the same dodge, you'll go for the same timing, and he'll cut it short and he'll hit your dodge. And that's what he kinda did. It happens, you know. It's all about the teething problems of learning how to play this game. Like, this is the dodge. See that? I didn't even double tap. I did the standard dodge because I was confident I could do it. Because it's not difficult to do, but he got me, you know. And the frustrating aspect to this fight is you have to do it all on one checkpoint. If that first phase didn't exist, and it was just this second phase with infinitely spawning guys, I think this fight would be way more fun. Because I like the second phase, but the first phase is so fucking boring to keep having to do it. And every time you get hit, restart, do that stupid like 6 enemy first phase. So frustrating. And if any of them level up, it takes even longer. Like, it's just bad. Just bad news bears. But have confidence in yourself. If you've done that just then, and you did it quite comfortably, you've done one of the trickiest infantry fights in the game, or standard enemy fights in the game. Oh, by the way, I've got a little bit of a clip here for you. This is me doing it on another attempt, and watch what I do here. So when this ogre spawns, I beat him into this wall, and then I get the execution on this fella, and then for some reason, that ogre's completely stuck against the wall, and I have all the time in the world to fight the draugrs. It doesn't help, because the draugrs infinitely spawn, but look at him. He's stuck, and he will not come this way. And I did all of this no damage up to this point, and I'm thinking, is he really stuck? Have I really got this glitched? And it's that realization of knowing I could have done this and this was a really good run, but because the game fucked up, I didn't want it in the walkthrough. Because I want to show people, you know, me overcoming the game as it is, and unfortunately that's not what that was. But that is one of the hardest fights in this game. So if you can do that, feel confident that you can do most of what remains. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.